Well, the Democrats have struck again, and they have just added to a wonderful ticket, a wonderful, just really historic. I think maybe it might be the greatest Democratic ticket of all time. Kamala Harris and now Tim Walz. I mean, round of applause. Just absolutely spectacular. These guys are home run after home run. Donald Trump doesn't stand a chance. And I know everyone out there is probably like, wait, who? Tim Walz? I will be the first to admit, okay, I'm not a big political guy. I can comment a little bit on it. I follow it loosely. I did not know his name. I really didn't. I'd heard of Shapiro in Pennsylvania. I'd heard of someone in North Carolina, Kentucky governors. I didn't even know this guy was in the race to be VP. Obviously, I've been out of the loop for a couple days. Interesting fella, and I cannot understand why they picked him. And I'm going to bring in, of course, good buddy, good friend of the show, Eric, a panelist, I suppose, a professional pundit of all things political, as am I. Of course, we're very, very credentialed in this field. What are your first thoughts of this? This just blew me away.
Well, I think I and almost everyone else was expecting it to be Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania to be the pick. And honestly, I was scared is the wrong word, but Shapiro was the obvious pick. He's a swing state that Kamala really needs to win in Pennsylvania. He's got the Jewish thing going for him. It would be a good way to make up for all the pro-riot and everything that the Democrats have stood for lately. So when she went ahead and picked Walz, it was very much like, well, okay, she's obviously just bowing down to the pro-Hamas, pro-Muslim crowd, which blows my mind. Minnesota hasn't gone Republican since something like 1976. So it's not exactly like a swing state.
No.
So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. I mean, really, the people who should be happy about this pick are the Republicans, because whatever momentum that Kamala was gaining over the last few weeks seems like she just kind of wanted to throw it away.
And they came out almost immediately. Trump had a campaign video within, I think, like 30 minutes or 20 minutes of the announcement, and it's really bashing him. And what he's kind of famous for, infamous for, is letting Minnesota burn during the riots. The George Floyd riots in 2020, 2021. And he literally that's what else is he known for? And I didn't even know that I didn't know that was his name. Again, sorry guys, you're expert over here, but I knew that the governor of Minnesota allowed this stuff to happen. And that's this guy. That's the guy who's just been selected to be the potential vice president of the United States under Kamala Harris. And I think that he is also an extremely left leaning governor. I mean, he is very, very pro LGBT. He's very, very pro immigration. He says he wants to be a sanctuary state. He wants to allow all sorts of sex transitions and surgeries, and let the kids do whatever they want type stuff. This is not a moderate choice, and I think that's another part of the craziness of this. Is I think Shapiro, I don't know him that well either, but I think he's much more moderate. He was
much more left center. Yeah, for sure.
He's much more your safe pick. Again, I've watched some of his videos. He actually would scare me in a debate. He's a sharp guy who speaks well.
Younger.
And I was actually a little bit like, okay, him and Vance is going to actually be fire. I thought it was actually going to be a really good debate. And now this guy, I don't know him. I don't know if he's a good debater. Honestly, he's just looks kind of like your old McDonald type guy. Sorry. That's just kind of what I think of when I see him. But I'm just interested in how his policies are going to line up. I mean, it's so extreme, even though Trump is not actually that far right. It's extreme just because Harris and Walz now are really left.
And it's strange because typically you have your presidential candidate, and if they're too far right, too far center, or whatever, they pick someone to kind of balance them out. In both the cases with J.D. Vance and with this guy from Minnesota, I already forgot his name.
Walz.
Walz, thank you. It's almost like the presidential candidate is picking someone who's a mini them, or doubling down on what they bring. Right? I mean, Vance was definitely a doubling down of the new right wing that Trump is, and then Walz is a double down on the super far left socialist thing that Kamala has been doing. So it's really odd. They're not. You'd think the party that would be, I don't know, more apt or inclined to kind of attract those centrist independent voters would be the one that's, doing better, doing the smart thing. And neither party has done that. They both kind of doubled down and went their separate ways. So I don't know what that says about our society or this election cycle in general.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
echo
I think
chamber, maybe.
Vance at least makes a little sense because he's from Ohio. He's got a really famous book. He's really this, bootstrap, he brought himself up from nothing. That makes a lot of sense if you're trying to win votes in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, this type of really Midwestern, good old boys type country where I think people are going to respect someone like him. And so, and I agree with you, his politics are pretty extreme, honestly, for most people in a good way, mostly, I think.
Sure.
But he's not central. He's not center. He's farther right than Trump for sure. I mean, I think he's in many ways. I think he's had to soften his approach because he's joined Trump's ticket, which is, I think, it's unfortunate. We talked about that a bit ago about his softening on abortion and whatnot. But it is. But I guess, I mean, my question for you or anyone watching, please, or comment on this. And if anyone understands why what's the purpose here? I mean, like, do they think is Tim Walz, is this guy the best addition to their platform, to their ticket? I mean, is he the guy who's just going to be like, this is the guy, Kamala? Because right now it's neck and neck. Kamala right now is like, what, 0.2 ahead. So what, it's 50-50 right now. It is totally neck and neck if you're watching these issues. And I think that is this their play, Tim Walz?
So
Really?
I'm not sure I believe it's neck and neck, right? I mean, just a few weeks ago before Biden dropped out, Trump was winning in a
Big up,
landslide.
7
right?
or 9. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then you put in Kamala, who, no one really likes. And all of a sudden, because of this bump or whatever, now all of a sudden she's neck and neck. And it might be the case, it might be that there's just a lot of people who didn't want to vote for Biden because he's, so old and can't think. But I don't actually think it's that close. And so one of the things that it might be, and I don't want to sound overconfident here, but it might be that they're just throwing away the election.
Thank you.
Right. It could be that Shapiro didn't want to be number 2 to Kamala, who he knew was going to get landslided. And he's saving it for 2028. It'll be him versus Ron DeSantis, something like that. I mean, that would be the only thing that makes sense for this pick, honestly.
That's the only thing I can think of too. And again, it sounds like it's just like they're just giving up, and it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't understand any other way besides saying, yeah, we're throwing in the towel. I mean, this guy, he's a guy who, again, he let his state burn. He's extremely far left. He hates the family, which, again, that's not going to get you any family votes. In the Midwest, it's going to hurt you, even with your crazy soccer moms. That type of thing is going to hurt. That is actually one of the few issues that, at least I think, like schooling, but like this transgender stuff actually hurts them. And so again, it's very, very bizarre. And I agree with you.
College wise, right? You need Pennsylvania if you're Kamala. You need Arizona.
Have to.
And those were the other 2 guys that she was looking at.
Exactly.
Instead, you go with the one that's already going to vote for you. It's strange. It's very strange.
The guy in Arizona, I forget what his name was, but he's a he's a former, it's Kelly, former astronaut. I mean, pretty badass guy who,
I think he's more middle ground.
Yeah, much more middle. And of course, I think his politics are terrible, like all Democrats. But I mean, another guy who's more like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. It makes sense. His wife wasn't she? She was the one who was shot. Wasn't she the senator or governor? Or she was shot by some crazy guy years ago. I'm sorry, guys, names are slipping me today, but he would make a lot more sense too. Exactly, because Arizona is also a swing state. But what are you doing? Like Minnesota? This guy in Minnesota. So he changed the Minnesotan flag to look just like a Somali flag. Now, Eric, I lived for a couple months. I'm serious. Look this up. I
saw the new design, and I actually like.
It's like a Somali. It looks like
kind of
Somalian.
liked it because it's nice and simple. It's got the 2 colors of blue and the North Star.
It's Somali.
It's Somalian.
Yes, and I lived in St. Cloud for a couple months, and they call it, like, I forget what it was, like New Somalia or something like that. It's wild, man. I mean, and they are everywhere. And these guys, these are really extremist Muslims. Like, these are your hardcore. This isn't your, I don't know, Iraq type Muslim. These are really, really extremist. Not all of them, of course. Yeah, again, this is generalizing, but these are people who are pooping in trash cans rather than the toilet. They're extremely rude. They're extremely aggressive, physically aggressive, and stuff. I mean, really, really bad stuff. I mean, dangerous stuff that again, Americans don't like. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So in the end, I can't think of anything other than they want to lose. Or I think maybe they think, okay, Trump is going to go to prison. But then even if Trump goes to prison, okay, then I guess you say, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that maybe
I
that's
don't
their
think it's
plan. But
gonna
then I
happen.
think it would be Vance. And I think people would probably vote for Vance in lieu of Trump, I think.
Mhm.
But I think their whole plan was that maybe let's put in Nikki Haley. And then she's your warmonger who comes in and still helps everybody, you know, and everyone gets their paychecks and whatnot. But now that's not going to happen because now you have Vance. So it's not going to be Haley, right? I mean, or I guess
Mhm.
if Trump goes to prison, would they have to primary again? I honestly don't actually know how that would work.
I
But I
I
think
don't
no, I
think
think
he'll go to
Vance would be
prison, but yeah.
Vance would replace, I think, right? Or you'd
I
have to
don't
get
know. I think they probably
because
have
how
to
does
do
that
a
work
new
with the Republicans?
convention.
Because Democrats do with the delegates. Do the Republicans? They already held their
They
convention.
have delegates also, but yeah, they already held their convention.
Weird. I don't know. So it'd probably be Vance, then I would assume.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Anyway, I mean, I like the Vance pick because he was also that security blanket saying, "Hey, look, yeah, come assassinate me, and you're gonna get a little crazy me. You're gonna get like two-time Donald Trump 2.0, and you know he's gonna go crazy on your butt." So I think that was a good pick in that case. But it blows me away, and I don't understand it. We wanted to have my dad on. I was curious to get his opinions. Unfortunately, his internet connection didn't work. Maybe he can hop on one of these days to talk about it because I think it would be interesting to hear someone who has a little more experience than you and I in the political
Mhm.
realm because you know our political lives are, you know, a lot of, you know, Bush, Obama, Trump, almost, you know, Biden, I suppose, but you know, very,
Yep.
you know, it's gotten very extreme in the last 8 years, but before that it was, you know, it was Bush and Obama. You know, I mean, it was a little different, but you know, you had the main party line for a long time, and I guess that's probably even after Reagan. I think a lot of the same, you know, a lot of
Mhm.
the same things happening, a lot of wars being started, et cetera, a lot of money being spent, but it wasn't any different under Trump. I think we got to remember that too. That, you know,
Mhm.
all the people who are praising Trump all the time, he spent just as much as everyone else, sometimes maybe even more. So the
Mhm.
spending was just out of control. But Trump's not going to let things happen like happened under Biden, like
Yeah.
in
Well,
Minnesota, et cetera.
he's got more moral policy
Yeah,
standards,
exactly. Agreed.
whatever he is as an individual.
Good enough for
Yeah,
me.
no, this Waltz pick, it's like either they are so overconfident that they're going to win and it didn't matter who they picked, or they're, like you say, throwing in the towel. I don't know. It doesn't make sense for a competitive race. I'll say that.
It doesn't make sense. I please, someone in the comments who knows politics better than we do, please let us know. I would seriously love a very educated response on this question because it baffles me. I mean, I haven't had too much time to look into it, but the commentary I've looked at it a little bit. It just it's baffling. It doesn't make any sense. And well, guys, let us know what you think. Tell us in the comment section if we have any actual professionals in politics. Let me know. Maybe you can come on the show and give a little bit of your opinions as well. You can email me Kevin89Davis@gmail.com. Eric, as always, it's been a pleasure. Until next time.
Thanks, Kevin. God bless.